Today I'm sitting down with Jim Whelan, the entrepreneur and owner behind IDR Construction. Jim's journey is anything but ordinary. He's gone from residential builds to high-end commercial spaces to eateries and is now developing a fitness gaming app that blends tech with movement. He's deeply rooted in Monmouth County, and everything he does has a community-first vibe. Whether you're a local curious about what's shaping the towns you love, a business-minded listener, or just someone who loves hearing how big ideas come to life, Jim's story is full of insight and inspiration. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Nicole. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
So I remember you when you started, doing construction work, small residential projects, then you grew to building homes. Now you're in high-end commercial projects and eateries and everything like that. So how did your transition happen? And talk to me about that. What challenges have you faced?
Starting off in construction, I enjoyed the different facets of doing different things. So, you're framing one day, you're sheetrocking, you're doing trim, you're doing doors. I come from a relatively poor background, and I always made it a mindset to learn each trade as well as I can. So that way, if I ever needed $400, I could go tile a floor. That was literally the mindset of 19-year-old Jim getting into this industry.
Baby Jim.
Baby Jim. And that led me to working with a general contractor. And I saw that, wow, I didn't have to do roofing 24/7. Didn't have to be my career. I found something that I could really dive into, that I could be involved in every stage of construction. That led me to about 4 years of working 80 to 120 hour weeks. And it was like a ramped up construction education. So I learned a lot of trades, and I just fell in love with it. It was something that came easy. I went from building Legos and Lincoln Logs to building houses. So it's similar along those lines. So I started off in residential. We did some light commercial. When I went off on my own at 24, I started doing more residential, basements, additions, bathrooms, kitchens, still with doing some commercial because I had held on to a commercial developer. And that just grew to different opportunities. You try to get into the game. I remember the first big commercial project I did it for like 5% on top of what the project was, which is just kind of unheard of in these days as far as markup. But I needed to prove to the industry that I can put up a 7,000 square foot medical office center, from the ground up. I had my developer trust me with some big commercial projects, and that led into, more of my resume. I like the commercial over the residential based on the different facets of, I can do a car wash. I can do a medical office building. I've done a school. I just did 10 units from the ground up. Those are exciting in Red Bank.
Yeah.
Yes. So those are exciting projects to, dive into. And, if you do a residential house, there's a kitchen, a bathroom, bedrooms, trim, siding, roof. Yes, it's the same. So it's not as monotonous as the commercial industry. We still don't shy away from it, but the commercial is what I really, really dive into.
So you've been spot building and selling. And how do you identify those right locations, and what trends are you starting to see in Monmouth County's real estate when it comes to building new construction?
As far as the new construction goes, I look for the most rundown houses I can find.
I know.
You've been nice enough to get me yes, and even my office. It was the worst.
That's right.
Worst building on the street. That's what I prefer because of the industry of what I'm in. What I can bring to the table with that certain property. I really enjoy Monmouth County because I see a lot of growth. It's very affluent. There's a lot of wealth in these areas. And even, you talk about the west side and the east side of, let's just say Red Bank, there is a shift. And, east side is great. West side is coming up, and you see all the building over there and the housing prices and the housing market going over there as well. I think that along with, just the general area of Red Bank, Long Branch, even Keensburg and Hazlitt, they're coming up. So I think there's really good areas to work out of.
So you built Reyla in Asbury Park and Atlantic House in Atlantic Highlands. Both are hotspot areas. What's your philosophy when you're designing and constructing spaces as they become community favorites? Like, how do you hone in on that?
Well, I would like to think that most of my projects become community favorites.
Yes.
That's the goal to get in there but you take someone's vision, whether it's the architect, the owner, or the designer, or a collaboration of all two or three. And it's between myself as the builder, the general contractor, construction manager, to understand their vision, be able to put it into, from paper to actual product, to listen what they need, to listen to the budget. We've done budgets where, we sit down with our client at the conference room in our office and they tell us this is $300,000 over their budget. And I said, well, we bid as per the plans.
Right.
So sometimes there can be a misconnection between the architect with the designer and the client to give them the vision that they want. A lot of times I say they designed the Taj Mahal when we should kind of build a vanilla box and work up,
right?
Rather than a Taj Mahal work down. So it's really understanding what the client needs, what their vision is, and just figuring out how we can work the best way together to make that vision possible.
But to overcome that, you're pretty much like a one-stop shop, aren't you? Where someone can come to you and you'll help them figure out with the architect and designer and everything like that when you have that budget.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. We will value engineer certain things when things are over budget. It's, creating a good environment between working with the client, the architect, if there is a designer, the designer, and, trying to marry everybody together during that 6-month, 12-month, 18-month relationship of this is the project we're working on. We have to, all come together and keep communication open throughout.
So you're also part owner of Melonhead in Red Bank and in Seabright. So what drew you to the food industry, and how does your background in construction play a really big role in that success?
I've always been driven towards fitness, towards an active lifestyle, healthy lifestyle. And
unless you don't take naps, don't count.
Naps don't count. IDR stands for I don't rest, but naps don't count.
But healthy lifestyle.
But healthy lifestyle with some naps. Sleep is very important, although I don't get enough. When the opportunity came to me to get into Melonhead and to become a part owner in that, I jumped at it because I saw the opportunity of kind of transforming something that was great, and what can I bring to that table? What can I bring to the business of, an acai shop? Well, let's make it a health food cafe. Let's try to bring the people in, not just for certain things, but for an overall lifestyle of how people can eat and the diet they can have. Part of the construction experience that I've had is kind of seeing what's worked for other people, what I've done for other clients, and not copying it, of course, but seeing what works. And, I was at See Here Now, and I saw this vendor who does these epoxy tables, and I took the business card and I said, well, I'm going to need this someday. And then Melonhead came through and we started doing our second store, and I called her up and I said, I love your tables. Can you provide us with these, maple tables with the epoxy that looks like a beach?
So cool looking.
And it's an amazing feature.
Yes.
We get many, many compliments on it. And that's one aspect towards part of the design aspect of creating the Melonhead atmosphere, trying to design like a Miami feel with Short Hills vibe to bring it all together in Monmouth County.
And now you're working on a fitness and gaming app for biking. Is that right?
That is correct.
What's the vision behind this project, and how does it tie into your entrepreneurial journey?
That's a passion project of mine between myself and two other friends. Again, I'm very much into physical fitness, and I like to, not that I have time for video games, but when a buddy of mine we used to sit whenever he lives in Australia now. So it's kind of hard to run that partnership, but it's working. But we used to sit down and play video games side by side on our phones. And we said, man, how cool would this be if we could be active while playing this? And it kind of spun our heads, and we hired somebody from Brooklyn to create a prototype for us. And we created this. Our vision is the LRL, Light Racing League. And you can connect any bike, put it on our kit, and play our games through your bike. So you're being active. The momentum you're using from the pedals gives you your momentum or speed throughout the game. And we have handlebar controllers that snap on, which gives you your left-right jump boost for the different games. It's making esports physical. It's giving the opportunity. Our vision is to have community, compensation, and competitiveness. To have my idea, we want to have them in everybody's home. We've gone through a lot of investor rounds, and they said, man, if this was out right now, we'd buy it for our kids. That's a great thing to have, great feedback to have, because our parents see a need for this. Why have their kids sit on the couch playing video games when you can be active on a bike or doing something active and actually still keeping their minds where the kids want to be. I would like to have healthy bars where you have stalls of these bikes and you come to play in groups of 4. You can play ideally Asbury versus Brooklyn, on large screens, through connections through the internet. That's my vision, and that's where I'd like to see it go.
So I have to find you a space for
Yes.
this.
Yes. I have a couple in mind, but I'm waiting for those businesses to go out.
So as someone who constructs and sells and invests, what do you think makes a project truly profitable in Monmouth County's competitive market?
I think right now there's low inventory
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of the homes. And I'm not in the commercial investing as much as I want to be yet. But as far as the homes go, you have to understand the numbers. You have to understand square foot numbers and what your overall price is, whether it's going to be for a rental, for what your ROI can be,
Mm-hmm.
for what you put into it and what it can be monthly, or what can be your bottom line net off of sale of a property. It's all numbers. It's all I classify myself as the king of spreadsheets. I have so many spreadsheets documenting how my jobs go, where the profitability is, debt versus income, and and all that. It's really understanding, okay, where I need to be, what my buy-in is, what the construction costs, and how can I bring that in without shortcutting.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to provide a end of the day home, whether it's to sell, whether it's to rent, or whether it's to do it for a client, where you've taken shortcuts that are going to come back and bite you. The 25 plus years, I know I'm dating myself, but the 25 plus years I've been in this business, I've learned a lot to where, not that I take shortcuts, but understanding where I see things that aren't on the plans that I have to bring to my client's attention, that I think this is going to pay off in the future by doing this now. And it's really just, whether they don't want to do it, get it in writing from me, or, and that's been lessons learned throughout the course of this.
Whether it's a restaurant, a retail space, tech app, your projects require both creative vision and solid business strategy. So how do you balance the two and everything else?
I don't rest. It always goes back to that, IDR. It is a very difficult balance. There are times where, I burned the midnight oil. I've done the 3 a.m. nights. When I was building my office, I actually built a small loft there because I needed to stay, and I would sleep there. Just throw a pillow and blanket up there with a little rolling ladder. Gave me a spot to just, if I need to crash and wake up, keep going. It's really the determination of what do I need to get done, and really understanding how not to put too much on my plate. Yeah, I know I have a lot on my plate, but I can always say yes. And that is something that I had to learn how to say no. And that's a really big stepping point, because, I get calls all the time. My text messages are a little flooded right now. My emails are flooded, and I can't get back to everybody. And, it weighs on me. But again, if I say yes to everybody, I know I'm going to fall short on the committed jobs that I have right now.
So would you say that's been one of your biggest hurdles, or what has been your biggest hurdles in your career, and what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs and builders in Monmouth County?
Having the fortitude not to give up, having the patience to not every client that you're going to get is going to be the exceptional client that you have a great working relationship with. Some are intolerable. Some are have expectations beyond what the expectation should be. This may be their first project, or it may be their 10th, and they still want more from you than you can give, or more than you can provide. At one time, I had 3, let's just call them intolerable clients at the same time, and I wanted to pack it in. I just said, this is so bad, and this is just, I had bad communication with the clients because of their expectations, and this was many years ago, and I just had to say, Jim, fight through it. It's not going to be forever, and it'll be just get the job done. All jobs were done. They were happy at the end, but just the time it took for us to get through those communication issues and trying to figure out their vision versus what was actually happening just took some patience and time. In the course of my years of construction, advice I would give is, if you have good employees, foster them, show them what they're worth, and keep giving them the momentum, the knowledge, and the monetary value that they deserve. I've had 4 exceptional employees that have gone on to start and I've had many employees that are good, but 4 that I can think of that I reference often when talking about my past employees, that they've really excelled at what they came in green. They've excelled at what I've taught them. They've learned, and they've gone off to do their own thing. And that's, it's not great for me because I lose a valuable employee, but it's good to see that they can take something that I can feed to them the knowledge where they can go create a career for themselves.
Right. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So where do you see the future of construction and development in Monmouth County? And are there emerging areas or trends that you're noticing?
As far as I see from Monmouth County, there's a lot of buildings still going on. Mm-hmm. I've been through the 2008, I've been through 2020. I've seen the ups and downs of how things go. Even in the early 2000s, driving through Asbury Park, seeing houses for $60,000 and $80,000 with one of my best friends. We kind of foresaw. We were young, we didn't have the money to invest, but we foresaw. I said, "Wow, we can see this coming back." And then 20 years later, you've got the houses that are $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 worth. Within that 20-year span. I see growth in a lot of the areas. I mean, you can just drive around and see all the building that's going on. I see a lot. The trends that I'm not necessarily a fan of are the high rise, the 57 unit buildings, the 60, 70, 80 unit buildings. I understand they're needed, and that's how towns grow and expand. But I just don't know if the infrastructure is there, whether it's the water or sewer, whether it's the traffic patterns, the traffic studies. It's clogging streets, and you can't drive through some towns at 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock because it's just so packed. And there's going to be 500 more units in 2 years in these places. I think it's great for certain things, but not for others. So it's it's way beyond my pay scale to judge. That's for the townships and the zoning applicants to figure out. But I really feel that that's where it's going. Commercial, I think that's been a steady. You need new buildings, you put them up as they're needed. So
you've built such a diverse portfolio. What keeps you motivated?
The goals that I set. I would say I set goals yearly at the beginning of the year that are almost unattainable. And that unattainableness, I don't know if that's a word, but the thing to bring it to fruition seems so difficult, drives me. And what it's done is throughout the years, I wanted to retire when I was 40. That was my goal when I was in my 30s. I didn't understand money as much, or passive income, or how to make money work for me. But throughout the years, I've really learned that the effort that you put into it will pay back. It's gonna provide just a better setting those goals so high. If you shoot for the moon, you miss, you'll still hit the stars, right? It's a similar philosophy to that. I want the goals to be so high that I have to keep working, stay, every day I get up and I'm like, I have lists. I have many lists that I need to do, that I keep creating and revising. And, to be able to check off those things, to be able to see certain spreadsheets of things I want to, accomplish, from the start of the year to the end of the year, gives me like, wow, I had a goal for this. Yes, I may have missed it, but look at what I've come, look how far I've come. Because I hadn't set those goals so high, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
What was your favorite project to work on? And what projects are you currently working on?
This is somewhat biased, but Reyla and Lalo, two that I'm involved in. Reyla, a Mediterranean restaurant, because of the you're building something that's kind of a Mediterranean feel within Asbury Park, with the arches, with the barrel vault ceiling. Working with the designer was exciting to see her vision and my partner's vision of how this space would come about. And, just the blood, sweat, and tears that go into the project, and the memories of, okay, I need to create this barrel vault ceiling. I've never done one. How am I going to do it? And it's those challenges and then just trying to understand it. And when you see it done, it's just a feeling that's amazing. Lalo was a concrete basement, and we had to move foundation walls, that were 24 inches thick, just to create some more space and to make, a party bunker, to make an area where people really come and feel like they've stepped down into New York. It's just a great feeling. And those were, I can remember the days I was down there by myself, just welding steel for, the different aspects of the space. Put the music on, just go to work and, do what you have to do. And those are projects that you just remember. And those are two of my favorites.
Both in Asbury Park.
Correct. And it really, a lot of the commercial projects that I have, whether it's the car wash, whether it's the medical arts center, it's just you see after it's, whether it's been 6, 8, or 16 months on a project to put up from the ground, it's just the best feeling to drive by and see your team, myself and my team, we're able to put this together and make this happen for the clients. As far as projects I'm on now, I'm on a community center for autistic children and adults. It's a 10,000 square foot building. It's a very good sized building in Red Bank. And, working with the clients, trying to understand their vision and what they want to do with their budget. Again, it's an exciting thing to see, and take part in helping them create the vision. So
how does someone find you if they are looking to build something?
Funny enough, a lot of it's word of mouth. We don't really do, everyone that says, oh yeah, I call them up and they'll say, yeah, I see your trucks and signs everywhere. That's, to me, they're not everywhere, but it's great to hear that
they are.
It's great to hear that people see them, and then we have a presence among the community in Monmouth County. It is a lot of word of mouth. That's how I like it. I want I say to everybody when I give quotes, get references, call them up, not just one, get a couple references to understand the work they've done, how it was to work with them, what the overall product was. And yeah, we don't really advertise. I've done that with Industry Magazine and things like that. I didn't really see the, how we do is a representation of what we will continue to do. You can spend your whole career building a name for yourself and ruin it on one bad job. And I tell my crew that as well. We have to consistently provide a service that is higher than what we think the other people are providing.
Well, thanks, Jim. I appreciate you coming here and telling us about your story.
Thank you. And thank you for all you've done for me with all the real estate and the help you've gotten.
Anytime.
All right, I know.
That's a wrap for this episode of All Things Monmouth County and Real Estate. Thanks for tuning in and being part of our community. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Have questions or a topic you'd love to hear about? Reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay inspired, stay informed, and enjoy everything Monmouth County has to offer.